Nyame ase wapam.
Amen. Happy Sabbath. Hello.
Happy day.
Yeah. Meda Sophonia Safo Nasi said Mutun Safreme to share a few thoughts. Now, actually, Sunday Tremuyana Mifi Ghana by me call Ghana for about 2 weeks now. My grandmother here na de me call na me ho na me call Ghana che you know. Now me share said their chronity and a few things observations we make here. Now I was thinking, how the healthcare, system, how is it going to progress? Nana Minimi Kazimako discuss it because my grandmother was over 100 years, and we were thinking, say, how was her life, and what made a difference. And then Utimini is and so these were some of the things in Yarabiana I was thinking about. Now, also for Ben Ephraim, said this is the program I'm on. I came up with this topic, said to think about health and healthy living, particularly for our demographic, see a free baby about US, what are the peculiar, health challenges and what are the constraints. And in the Amasan and Ampese Yesusu in broad terms. And the idea make us say I have the solutions or the answers, because these are things that I began thinking about. And and my presentation is going to be sort of starting the conversation or scratching the surface. And I'm saying it be also Nyama Wesusu pain. I be our I didn't share back in Nubia also ubet me at the aboa. My objectives, the American kusini say Busa say you can't health. What do we mean? And what are some of the causes of ill health? Say factors being, what are the factors influencing healthcare decisions are you making day, and I feel see if we are thinking about health, how should we approach it, and with what framework? And now, when it comes to health, I would say maybe health is very, very, integral. It's probably the most important thing. That at the chamber. Now, nipa ebe pay Yesu fadodo na omo epe ayaresa. Yensa fumu adansi ankrofo di fadodo na yare ene ayaresa. Share American industries fadodo na have something to do with healthcare. But I guess the question comes, say and as individuals, how important is health to us? How important is health to us? To me, say the one tifi I want you to take this message home. Say you have to love and care for the body God has given you. Nipeduana anyam kupon edia mao odia show sano. My annual responsibility say you love and cherish that body and you take good care of it. See, that's the take-home message. And the Ebekenya no so busa say a men's ministry program, health program, what was the the health message. Now, this is what I want you to take away. Now, a scripture reading from Psalm 139, verse 14. I say, I'll praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Say, because we are going to think about this subject here. I mean, it will take the whole time. So, what the psalmist is saying said, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. It's so amazing. Now, if you go to Genesis, I'll say, out of the dust of the ground, he formed man into a forming nipeduano. And then I'll say he breathed into man the breath of life. And man became a living soul. And when we are discussing, and when it comes to the body now, there is that physical body component, and the part that scientists intimately figure out, we call the mind or consciousness. And for instance, so any idea about my say me pipe nipadua ni ma me hu baby a jealousy efi bodies me anyway you can't tell say we're not here no na ni je bia fufu na we ji banku hu and now we epenyum we na we penyum we say what defines the person, the personality, is a mystery. And what we call consciousness, we don't know what it is or where it comes from, what makes a person so unique. And identical twins, they are separate individuals. Even though physical body, is exactly like the other, in terms of the non-physical aspect, they are different. And so when you are thinking about health now, we have to think in terms of the physical health and the non-physical health. Now, in Pempinana, there's a lot of heavy emphasis on the physical health. But the non-physical health also play a very major role. And you can't have one and not the other. You need both. And say discuss apomodea. I want us to stretch our mind, open our mind, that we are talking about two components in terms of concepts. A physical body now, can assume any, all the organs, And then there is the non-physical part. We talk about the mind. Some call it the spiritual part of the body. And so when we want to define health, we say it's a state of well-being of both the physical, the mental, social, spiritual. And you need to be functioning well in all these domains: the physical aspect, the social, the spiritual, the mental aspect. And this is what will give you a complete picture of health. This is what we want to talk about. Now, this is a quote from Christ Objectless. I'll say, health is a blessing of which few appreciate the value. Yet upon its efficiency of our mental and physical powers largely depends. Our impulses and passions have their seat in the body, and it must be kept in the best condition physically and under the most spiritual influences in order that our talent may be put to the highest use. Our habits should be brought under the control of a mind that is itself under the control of God. I'll say, apomodin akyɛdeɛ bi a ɛnyɛ nipa bebree ɛne hu anaasɛ te aseɛ. Na sɛ yɛadwe ne nipadua no bɛ function yi a ɛgyina apɔmuden so yɛate nka nea yɛpɛ nea yɛmpɛ nyinaa no ne nyinaa is seated in the body. Now say the body can function at its best when it is brought into the control of God, where the mind controls the body and the God controls the mind. That is sort of the hierarchy. Tinamika said the non-physical aspect, it's very, very important. Now you can't separate one from the other. Already Eka said, or say, where assassi so no, in Shrebia ni wa Nyankopɔn betumi de ahyɛ nipa a ɛboro sɛ wama apɔmuden. I say of all the blessings that God can bless a man or a person, none is superior than a good health. Now say nka mɛyɛ ɔdefoɔ na meda yare mpa so no, anka ɔma me hia na ɔma me apɔmuden. I say it's better to be a pauper in good health than to be a monarch on a sick bed. Now, Anna Ubisa said, and I nipa bebre nika say, oh, media me pese me nya apɔmuden said the bear metna say na makanya me asem amani mind about in term. Those are all beautiful aspirations. But also for me, one thing they said, yarea, uyarea, it's a painful state to be in. A very, very distressing. Sometimes it be our own shed that you make decisions without deep considerations. But say what call Yariana, so what about hospital? I'll be who nipe huna mane any dia woman femuna. I think say you reflect whenever you are doing things that will not be in the interest of your own body. And Tinami Busa said, what is your attitude to your own body? Now, Ephesians 5:29 says, indeed, no one ever hated his own body, but he nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church. This is what should be the attitude of the Christian to his own body. So the way Christ nourishes and cherishes the church, I said that is how you have to be to your own body. Now, my patients be a mission, my bro, she always fascinates me. Said I mean, she's getting close to 90, but Obani appointment said why Natalia said what should I do? The triwi na Kalis kakra from she said ni bibia she's on put me say ni pediano. She's really taking good care of the body. Impose her wrinkles been everyone who crash. She wants to go and make sure that it's been taken care of. And now I was wondering, say, hey, now mommy, she's almost 90 years, and Olivia to say will be our 40. Everything I saw Yeman in Ipediano, she's or Yibia. Now, and there are some people also so be of a banner. Be crana a week crowd be no narrator. They said why no Natalia, Jota born and honey at the Adinano. Then you ask yourself, say, now see Nipediano, is this something Nani Jehuana said, Nani angel? And so Christ cherishes the church. Now, I'll say that is the same way you have to cherish your body. And I say, if not for nothing, Krana, you should remember, say, it is very painful to be sick. It is very, very painful situation. Na nkrofo be di omadanse say be a to hospital any dia omo fair mu na. I don't think you want to go through that before you begin to appreciate the body God has given you. Nti me back from hano the guy said no be advice say oh so person talk car a used car aya to baby a car broni yusu and koto car be a Spanish and I say African American be a yusu. What is the point? And him said cars car you time maintaining it well no, you get your money's value because it be a no who say be a there are a group of people are almost talk almost ye be a crowd fan cost service. But and there are other group of people so the car no and say a crowd the cost service for regular maintenance. So now and I believe says because of compare used car, you would want to inquire about the maintenance history. But so who said, oh sorry, I no pay bia car udi kantinemu nipedia. When you wake up every morning, the first car you drive is your own body. Na anajo wako parke wada. I say I lay me down. And so if you take good care of your body, it will also return the kindness. Say we show nipedia su year, nipedia su besho ye. Now say a healthy mind dwells in a healthy body. And the non-physical part partake in the physical, the same way the physical part partake in the non-physical part. Until untimika say me baku meja baku. Na sometimes but no be a bedi adanse say oh nyanum nyada fume nda nyamia say no na do order e bia next week na menya 50 years me hu bebia enye me yada minko hu doctor that things like that. But that is not the point. Say bia na che say bia enkenyo ma mikra na che say asunsunro kra unfair bida. The point is say you make regular maintenance with adibia ubi usubia. There is wear and tear. Now some of them it takes time to manifest. So nti say bia what 50 years na onte pain bia no and just say nothing is happening in your body. It be alcohol check here be who say bia vitamin we or form near your top amount and I say in no way or mujemu eswati na what correct it now. That is how you do it. But you don't avoid check up maybe you turn a blind eye o chama what ya o nipedian who baby and son way to anamo we na you are abusing your own body. Now there are said you maintain a vehicle car we are regular service in the same way you have to pay attention to your body. And I make I say even if the physical part and how are you doing at the non-physical part the mind what is the state of your mind. And so that those are some of the things I want us to address our minds to when we are discussing health and what that means. Let me say, what can you tell others about something you did for your body that you are proud of? what can you then now bet me a catcher for say, oh, my be a mini pediana, a female who said, I'm good. I think maybe the women do better. Be a because oh, Makoye, Makwame, ya hear me more, you know, mommy, you know, they talk about it as a special treat for the body. And I say, be a, you know, na BB, I needed it to do a certain surgery, and I was putting away my to put my body back in shape. What can you tell? Say, now you know, say be a yet to kind being immigrants. You know, sometimes the focus and say, oh, in fear demon, no, but then I be a juma pesca, then I attend to myself. But as the years roll on, your body is also aging. So, you you live your life in totality. Because we ignore everything pertaining to your health. Now, what do I hold in pesca answer? And I say, why should we see a phone in every answer? And sana, we are our pony pediano. In that way, you are abusing your body. You are not honoring the body God has given you. Sorry, no. You have to examine yourself. Examine yourself. What do I have to do? And set goals for your body. I feel maybe I want to lose weight. I want to do this. I want to eat this way. Now, one thing I've learned, and I learned from my patients, is a abrofo. And you learn from other people things that behaviors that promote health. Because say if we are influenced by how we were raised and the cultures and attitudes. All these things impact the decisions we make about our health. And be a 2 movie now, it's something you can learn from. You do that. You also make the step, or once you make the step, others around you may see it, and they can also learn from you. Or say, iron sharpens iron. Tetekwashi call Fernando Poco Hunko who say, it can change an economy, and also fine or they buy. You don't close your eyes to all the developments and things around you. Say, you close your vision. The actual and found. I see them, the decisions that people are taking, how they are acting on their friends saying, they are told for the year and things like that. And say, Bikra, take a plan, be a objective for your body for the year now. You can also borrow from somebody, say, okay, I feel be a medidi masisano, and I said, midi way, and then see how that goes. Even if when me and carry through and you're able to do half of that now, it will still be beneficial to your body. It will still be beneficial to your body. Now, Zig Ziglar, a motivational speaker, he was one of the top salespeople in America. Now, about horse racing, the horses now that are used for horse racing, they are very expensive. Some can cost upwards of 2 million. As a pongono crown, the sperm, no, sometimes it's over 100,000 or more. And as Zig Ziglar Ebusa said, if you own one of these $1 million horses now, will you keep it up all night drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes? If you own one of these horses, are you going to keep it all night drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes? I say na say onye sadia. Other na wa osumbu chen the $1 million horse no. Ufa bibia keka na de rawa no. Why do you pick anything, just anything, enters your mouth without forethought, even though you are worth more than the racehorse? Mumuhai and endo ni nipadua. So be cherish ni nipadua na ode nipa ama ni nipadua no. In Isaiah say ade na mo so amo breso ni ade ekoto dia enye aduane. You are worth more than a racehorse. Ebi ana onye ho sada. But you were created in the image of God. Your worth is more. And say the way you carry yourself around, atade a wo share, places are all called. It should reflect say ujidi say osombo chen racehorse no. It's important. And not until say we understand some of these things, then our approach to health and healthy living, will not have any focus or direction. What is your attitude to your own body? Indeed, no one ever hated his own body, but he nourishes and cherishes it just as Christ does the church. Now, when it comes to the physical health now, there are things that are called threats. We know say, once you are born, you start dying. Every human being, once the first day you are born, your clock starts ticking. But then the question is, are there life expectancy vary around? Are there maybe 100, maybe 80, maybe crowded, they struggle to make 60, I think Ghana life expectancy is between 67 on average. Over Japan, the other place about 82. America, depending on which population you are looking at, between 77 to 82. White women have higher life expectancy. Black women have higher life expectancy than men. And so you ask yourself, what are these? What is the cause of all these differences? Now, over the years, in Myanmar, affecting your physical health or that degrades our health, they've been changing. It's in a very epidemiologic transition. In Timefan say, King David Mabresuna, famine, a come and a pestilence, and then sometimes, and also war. Those were things that took the lives of the people. Very common. It's almost the Middle East here. It's not new actually. If you read the history of that region now, I would say almost every winter, springtime, there's some conflict. And it was the same everywhere. Until within that, near same full, now a come eba, now there's pestilence, and all of that. Now, life expectancy in those times, will be a when you're maybe at 25 years, And then we get to the period what we call the receding pandemics, where yare timi affected what like we are seeing now, now I know pestilences, but things like war and all those things, you see them. And then you get to a place where there is what we call degenerative diseases and man-made diseases. And the degenerative, it causes for a long time, and then it manifests itself. Chronic conditions, and it be osteoarthritis, those are all degenerative. And then we go to delayed degenerative. Now we talk about your friends saying Alzheimer's, dementia, and see, we have those delayed degenerative diseases, high blood pressure, diabetes, Alzheimer's. And then there are what we call emerging infections, Ebola, we had the COVID, and we have flu every now, here and there. Now, depending on regional, you might be at the stage of man-made diseases, in which case we are talking about the pollution that we generate in our environment. Because I call Ghana, I remember there was one time, Bobby and Numere 8, it's legal, now will be a shit robbers a tie now, a bura, a dime, them, me call her and I'm say, America, I wouldn't mean sorry, what tie, and say, oh shit, and but it be in that setting, in tie in this animal, and the chemical, the chemicals, toxins are a digu inflammable, and this animal. And so if you are in a developing country, you have some of that degenerative diseases. There are also a lot of man-made diseases, and we have all these infections. Infection is still heavy in developing economies, but over advanced economy now, those, we don't even talk about those childhood infections, diphtheria, tuberculosis, all those things are not common. But years back in America, 1800s, Ellen White, their kids died from tuberculosis, but you see the transition. We don't report those infections here. And so that's how ufi a developing country now by oftentimes you've been exposed to a lot of these man-made diseases, and so you carry it over, and these things over time may work their way as far as your health is concerned, down the road. Now, what researchers have seen is that it takes about 10 to 15 years to be washed out, for you to look like Obia, when you come in, it takes about 10 to 15 years to become like the regular population here. Otherwise, in your first 10, 15 years, you are Obia or Ghana. And so your risks are almost about the same. Now, in Krofaya, some studies regarding migrants, one way two baby moved to the United States. Now, one study by Whelan, he shows immigrants and refugees often arrive to the United States healthier than the general population. And that is true. There's something we call healthy migrant effect. Nipa wa hoɔden na etu kwan, fa dodoɔ na obi betu kwan a na ɔwɔ ahoɔden. Sɛ woyare a nya de akwantu koraa bɛba w'adwene mu. But and so these are young people, strong. And so on average, if you compare the average American to an average migrant or refugee, you see that the refugee, in terms of strength, it's healthier. Why should Nipa ever southern border? Some have walked hundreds of miles, which the average American can't do. And so such people are healthy. And I'll say, but with time, cardiovascular risk, tend to become like the regular American population or even exceed it. Risk of heart attack, stroke, over time, my brain, people even though they were healthier than the average person, over time, now they are becoming worse in terms of health. Now, say you see rising rates of obesity, cholesterol issues, high blood pressure, diabetes, and strokes, you see. And so that is something that you have to include that in your consciousness. You have to be conscious about these things. So you start off well when you come in, but over time, and more research shows that, eating habits, rest habits, exercise, all these things change. See, all these things change when you come in. And like I said, you even forget about your physical needs, the things that your body needs. And then we can say, all your energy, all your mind, maybe you are spending all your effort, until you leave your health unattended. You leave your health unattended. And one study by Malika Roberts, looking at African immigrant men, I'll say the most common conditions that they found: high blood pressure, arthritis, dental diseases, and diabetes. These were the most common. And I'll say less than a fourth of them had a healthy BMI. It means that more than 70% of African immigrant men were either overweight or obese. And I'll say less than a third met their daily recommended sleep hours. In other words, more than 60% of African immigrant men, they recommended 6 to 8 hours of sleep. They don't get it. So they don't meet their sleep. And so then you ask yourself, why? And also some delay seeking care because of mistrust, as others fear hostile attitude from providers because we are more accent, we are background information, and so they don't seek care. They don't seek care. And so there's the profile of African immigrant men coming into the US. Like I said, when they come in, they are healthier than the average American, but given time, they get their health worsen, and from all these conditions. There's overweight, there's lack of sleep in majority of our people. Now, when it comes to Inyama Ekosi area, we've come a long way. Kaneno, na nneɛma bebree hɔ a we didn't know sɛ nneɛma wei na ɛma nipa yare. But the unfortunate thing is that oftentimes we don't seek scientific explanations. And that is the difference between the developed and the developing world. Where in the developed world, they find scientific explanations for problems and diseases in this animal. In the developing world, they seek more spiritual explanations, And like I said, so much studies and research have gone on. Say, oh boy, Arabia, we almost know what the underlying cause is. And they are grouped into injuries like physical and chemical, gunshot wounds. These all impact health. If you take people like 20 to 35 years in America, you see injuries are top on the list when it comes to affecting health. Toxins and poisons. We know poisons and toxins in the environment, some from things that we use that affect health. We still have infections to deal with, inflammation, and then we have the category of cancers or malignancies. And then we have genetics. And in Pempi, if we Ghana, but you know little about your family. If you say, oh, dear Niku, or Papa, and I say, oh, mommy, I be cry, you don't know. And I say, Yareben, oh, Bustiamu. And in we address our minds to. But you see, people can give detailed history because all these things have implications. Your makeup, your set of genes, is a pool. Into muna dia papa muna the mouth. And so often you are not so different. So be or diabetes or bushama, you are more than 90%, chance benyabi type 2. If your parents have, all this information here, you have to be interested in. What is will be a fear, you should inquire, because this may be of interest to you. And often because say be a back home, so be a diagnostics, any of that good, in pain pinani, be a young person will die, but we don't make inquiry. Because I said, na me Ghana, it be able to penny by catch and say, oh, Dr. Yakubu Semu, say, you soon had that, na obi kobo ni dia onti. Autopsy cry and things like that. And so there is loss of information. We don't have data, we don't have information. And also diet. Diet, we know, also impact or threatens our health. Intimabo is now, then the question comes, I think I've been asking this question throughout the presentation, in different forms. What value do you place on your health? What value do you place on your health? In these toxins, infection, inflammation, malignancy, diet, injuries, these are all threats to your health. And to what extent are you willing to protect yourself from all these exposures? I have seen this phenomenon. Don't know rubber no manual. I don't know where the practice started from, but Ghana and even in the US, serving document, plastic bag, etc. But even the Ghana FDA had looked into it, and there are all these plastics, it's chemicals, they can find their way into the food, and so they had issued a, a warning, but it doesn't seem that the warning has gone into the community or the general population. I'll say consumers are advised not to buy sachet and bottled water displayed on the bare sun. Refuse hot food items packaged in direct contact with plastic bags, and also avoid covering boiling foods with items with plastic bags. The FDA will continue to engage all stakeholders, including consumers, consumer protection advocates, the scientific community, and producers, to ensure that the health and safety of people of Ghana are guaranteed. You see, this is a very important information. But then, how many people are aware? Restaurant now, Tobankwa, it's hot, it's wrapped in a plastic bag. See, but these are some of the exposures that we put ourselves to. And in this case, the authority that oversees some of these things, have issued a warning. But it seems that no one is paying attention. And you think, people, Bahana, we hear health news near that, some of these things will be communicated, but also you see the same thing happening, how we handle food, how we handle food. Now, one thing is that in minorities, usually the authorities here, the FDAs, really, they don't look much into it, unless they be making specific requests. Most food, apparently, less than 30% are they sample on the market to investigate for toxins in the But when it comes to minority food, cultural food, I would say Spanish and I say Ghanaian or something. Usually, those things don't fall under their radar. Like I said, you only be bringing all market, but they only will sample less than 30%. And so we have to be sort of proactive when you see any, changes, the way I handle it, and to be asking questions, say, is this safe for us to do? Is this safe for us to do? Aflatoxin continues to remain a major threat to health. Now, sometimes I be around, the broader chef region now, what who mode, say grow so now, what the second trap mode not to actually now they are kind of they are breakfast. I mean, once you see a mold growing on your food, the whole food is contaminated. The whole food is contaminated. And aflatoxin, any idea, it can cause liver cancer. Now, any idea, you can destroy it with heat. Now, say about toxins, poisons, we are saying aflatoxin is number one. Is the most potent toxin. What you need is just a very tiny amount when you cry, and that's all it takes to poison your body. Na in kakra, then out there, say amount is aflatoxin like a teaspoon. Amount there, your liver will shut down immediately. And that's how powerful it is. Now, it's a natural contaminant. It's hard to get rid of it. And so the FDA only sort of what they call safe levels. They only regulate, and katia peanut. There's some level of contamination, but they try to ensure that there's what they call the safe level. But about yɛnnuane baby corn, kokonte ne saa nneɛma no ebi kɔfa kokonte fi Ghana ne ade sɛ ne yɛ hata na ɔkyɛnse so na mold a grow or so ne ade ne yɛayam ayɛ powder ebi sɛ no na ɛyɛ dɛ but there was this study here or KNUST looking at aflatoxin in kenke, and they saw say initially the say omuma corn ferment kakra and insulin film had a high content of aflatoxin. Now I'm say the cooking process of the kinky does reduce the amount of aflatoxin in it, but of course it doesn't get rid of it completely. And so it's mold, it's everywhere. And like I said, they contaminate most farm produce. And so when you see it growing, in fact, say fridge more, any fridge more, once you see it, you should know that this is a health threat and you have to I said you know utugu. And say be a so miko kanishia and I say miko microwave. Aflatoxin cannot be destroyed by heat. Until you have to discard the food. Again, you'll be surprised that vibration has effect on your health. This is a study said, if you live close to train station where the idea, your increased risk of cancer, chronic stress, money. I remember I said I'd asked Obi say, I don't know, or New York, no, Chese, Ghana for me and then a bang. I feel so PF in a train and no coffee. But the vibrations, impact again, noise pollution. Because I say a call Ghana na the uncle catch him so to me now I you see ba be a bay the view Ghana mo bonyuma di again this we're talking about man-made hazards. Until we'll be a bear, but it doesn't occur to them say you need noise can be a pollutant. A noise can affect your health. Nti nipa no the big speakers abisisi abonti na oton cassette ni ade na obonyum sa eja nyamenyum na obo enu ha go catch and say nyamenyum na obo no twa so and I say omo ya all night ebo ntwene ade they did this continuously. All these things impact health. Now effect ni immediate effect take some time. And now it's emerging, say, living close to these factories, train hubs or stations or bus stations, and all these vibrations and noise, the fumes, all these things impact your health. Again, research now, Whelan, and then a group near, you don't see migrants, participating in physical activity. Now, in their research, and this is a direct quote, I'll say, the migrants, they recognize the benefit of physical activity, but lack of familiarity and comfort with taking the first step towards being physically active were the most significant barriers to physical activity. Ubuso biya jitum say exercise is good. Physical activity, keeping fit is good. But also taking that first step, beyond the nano, may that thing. And again, there are competing interests for your time. Said every day. And so unim dear say we exercises here, but you never make the first step. I said that was the most significant barrier. All around us, like I said, we call your YMCA be around called gym hall. I was surprised. In Rwanda, in Kokrani, it's a different age group. Na said I abontia code no ebe also be them. But then you enter there and you say, oh wow, depending on pay about the exercise during the winter. And so be a making winter and be a yedintuma kataya hunyeshe them little exercise. By the time the winter is over, no, so because you've been indoors most of the time. But these are things that you heard these behaviors among the other population now. You should ask yourself, how do I also participate? Because me GD said me exercise say yeah, me. And so then I mean to me, and family who share. You have to make time. So this is one, I think, migrants' attitude of taking the first step. Now, when it comes to the non-physical aspect of health, now, I talked about the mind. St. Augustine say, you have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts is restless until it rests in you. Sarah, do what boy see a dear. Na yakoma ekɔ so pray kɔpem sɛ yɛbɛhome ɛwɔ mu. Pɛn pii no, ɛsɛ bɔne ɛna ɛtete yɛn ne Nyankopɔn ntam. And sometimes we don't realize even the physical effect of telling a lie. Say it has even physical effect, let alone a moral and a spiritual effect. And sometimes it leads to all these restlessness and anxiety. Yes, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. So, until everybody say dishonesty, ukophobia, all these things are they be a boss who are sorry. These are things that are to help us with the non-physical health. Again, inactivity and idleness. I can say the devil finds work for idle hands. Inactivity and idleness also impact the non-physical health. So, obi maybe say what to plan or banner even when you share it wears on you. Over time, you become anxious. Now, say high perceived stress, high financial strain, everyday discrimination, all these things affect the non-physical health. Now, sometimes what helps is you having a community, say you belonging to Long Island LiGSDA church, you have a community there, and you have that sense of wealth, and engaging with the community also help you distress. One research showed that also there is very high rate of mental ill health among African migrant men. There's something they call pre-migration stress, migration and post-migration. Nti ebi kora, ansa na obetu kwan ahoboa a woyɛɛ yɛkaa sɛ bra interview ayamhyehyɛ ɛbɛtɔɔ so nipa ɛbɔ a ne mpaebɔ bi kora a wontumi nna aduane nyɛ ɔda bio ebi a yɛsɛ kɔfa financial statement bra and all the troubles that you went in, they call them pre-migration stress. And then the migration itself, the crowds also be do a sample about near the day. We'll be doing customs for a union form. Near should making, Wakuma bossa. We'll be doing so, you hit the ground going. You Juma Sem, and and because it's like you're on a treadmill until you don't pay attention to these huge stresses on you. Until they put this as post-traumatic stress. The migration process itself, is very stressful. And there is a high rate of anxiety among our people. And depression, we might not even have a language to describe it, but it may manifest itself in different ways, even in bodily ways, physical forms. Now, because culturally, that's a reflex response. But I say there are also these cultural beliefs. Burma, free Ghana and some parts, there's that sense you have to be successful, you have to be intelligent, so to make sure we're all these things. So it comes with its own heavy weight on you. As African migrant men do not seek formal mental health help. So due to stigma and discrimination, and they tend to prefer religious treatments, and they are perceived lack of cultural competence also. I'll say, and I looked at health-seeking behaviors. I'll say about 50% of undocumented immigrants don't have healthcare coverage. And about documented lawful residents now, about 18%. Compared to naturalized citizens, are you about 6%, US born 8%. And so you see that there's a high number of people their CBI or Yarisi CBI, Benya Health coverage now. A good number of people do not. And I'll say how many migrants seek care. I'll say when you look at those who skip or postpone care in the past 12 months, now again you see undocumented migrants, high lawful those who are work about 22% postponed care in the last 12 months. They skipped compared to 19% of naturalized citizens. And now Fanipa Enhu doctor in the last 12 months now. Again, about undocumented 37%. Offer lawful residents now about 26%. To only be about the say, the past 12 months, who doctor baby, but that is not the point. You have to make And so they can't, what you say, I'll take these needed steps to take care of myself. And depending on so emergency room, they don't do the preventive BBC and Sana Omako. Again, majority of these people tend to be undocumented, and a large portion are also lawful residents. Among, I just say emergencies, BSC and Sana Omako emergency room. And you know, when I talk about approaches that we can take, what framework do we need to live a healthy life, for healthy living? So these are a few questions. Can you not, there's a lot of emphasis on diet, which is good, but that is not all. The question is, where did you decide to live? If an order, what are the threats to your health? The vibration, noise, fumes, how is the air quality? All this information, Google, so baby, put zip code now. Google will give you all the information, crime rate, what community name, air quality, what home. You have access to all this information. And so this is something that you have to think about. Say, baby, I'm a what is the air quality? What is the noise level? What is the vibration? What is the crime rate? What kinds of crimes are there? These are questions that you have to ask. The second is, what do you breathe? It's not just what you eat. And from our home, and it's saying, hey, Juman, I say, fear. And I baby, I'll quite sorry, crowd. The home from an our home, and it's saying, sometimes I know we take their cheaper options, but because we don't prioritize our health, the guy said, number Connecticut, there was this family, cheap rent there, but also they didn't know. Almost every other week there's gunshots, but this go for 222 drug dealers we also in Tempana, in the feel or crime or feel. But this away information answer our best is how you would know. Say this is the situation in that area. And where do you work? What are the impacts to your health? OSHA, occupational health. What are the dangers to your health? Now, then we come to diet. We spoke about what you eat. I said you prepare your you realize that there's prolonged exposure to heat. How are you going to modify their food? Are you eating to be healthy? And then who is your neighbor? By this I mean, say, who is influencing you, and who are you also influencing? Those you surround yourself with, have effect on how you look at health. Say, they prioritize their health, but now for those behaviors around you also affect you. In the same way, if they don't care about their health, it will also affect you. And then we spoke about health coverage. Say, asemato, what preparations do you make in terms if you get any health crisis or emergencies? These are things that you have to plan and think about. And then, is there a community? I think most of the research studies now I shared, one thing that came out, and they said the sense of community, is something that helps migrants find a lot of great support. And so that is a given. You are a member of the Long Island SDA Church, offers you that community and a family. And it's good for your well-being. But sometimes, and these places can become toxic. And that's something that we have to pay attention to. Somewhere in the Bible, I think in the Hebrew, I say you should be careful that no bitter roots develop among the people. When the church becomes toxic, it affects your health. What is the point? So, and so this is the sort of framework that I'm looking at when it comes to approaching good health or living well. I'll read this text, John 16:33. I'll say, I've told you these things that in me you may have peace. In the world you have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. Amen. You said, I know I'll leave the rest for say Obi or Asen Bisebi, and I said, Ntobobi or the Bekandi and Sama. I can miss my bobo near my baby so, but so Obi or Asen Bisan and say questions be all the the floor is open. Mm. Yes, answer na me Daniel so for near sorry penny for.
You opening in the Mammy for some business about PB income. Say, now what can the day and once na the margin a better so a year. Yen so no yet me a critic the day bisa at me affect yen. And I say, titru sorry. Microphone be a say open speaker now to say, Tiwasumama ubika on crowd. Maybe a ye to a ye nyum num sanso a ayana a bit be a dash nti itimi e bi no ma wodina e ho krotum se didi oyem kakra kakra na ye deda ye no hakakra bi a 5 minutes bi no en hyeda en hadwini bi a anase e bi a futuo bi e wo mu medase
Yo, medase. Typically, Ananka communities or a in Penifue communities, sometimes they regulate they monitor the noise levels. And so it be they post, it be a building be when they know say, okay, this is a church. Sometimes you could or church could see baby and especially where they are baby and Crawford because they have some of these concerns, noise levels. And sometimes too, Anna, they don't acquire minority groups are sometimes to Anna, they shy away from maybe a somber hammer and I said bisa. But it's good say you have that consciousness, say, noise can be a pollutant, say you can suffer from noise pollution. And oftentimes and incremental into said an American, these are things that we brought from Ghana. So in Ghana, so nobody regulates the noise level until it can be so high. Nipano bossa, and TB also buy the same set of near the Adenana auto. But you have to once say, oh, I say noise can affect your health, then you also have to adjust and make sure say nkwalaa bɛn, nkwalaa twam these loud noises can affect them. And oftentimes, Rana, maybe if we can't measure the effect directly, but edan where the akwaudo bebre, so and until be a until when who say be a noise, it's having effect on the aqualano attention and all of that. But once say noise can become a pollution, then we have to make conscious effort to make sure that what authorities now have recommended, we are living within. Since all these things you can measure, so copy device be to measure the noise level you want to know, you would know, and then you find out what is the recommended levels for NEPA 100 Asia or within this space. Because any a program be Baltimore University Barco, we're using the auditorium, and they've done all these measurements, and they told us what kind of equipment can be there and all of that. These were things that now I hadn't paid attention to, but it was fascinating. Said the auditorium can handle a certain level of noise, and you can't bring certain levels, speakers being at their DM, Mahoney, all these things. And so then you realize, okay, people are paying attention. And that's something that we can also start doing to see, say, okay, how much noise are we making in our services, Miss Animal?
If I show me a question, now what can be alpha vibration from trains, say be out and train station, a vibration. Now my question is say, what about exposure to vibrations from your cell phones and maybe a microwave? That exposure, no, is it enough to cause long-term effect? And I say, and already, and yet too much, and say, okay, that's it.
Yeah, the evidence from those ones, have not been strong. People have attempted to look at it, but I don't know whether it's the companies that have sort of shut those studies down. And I said, genuinely, there's really nothing for us to be afraid of. Yeah, and the evidence is strong from their phone vibration or even the radiations that come from, say, very minimal. And because oftentimes, the contact time, and yes, so extended, it's in and out. It be alpha now, they are to alpha now, they are to the internet. Say it's not so strong, but some suggest that there might be a possible health effect. And there again, nobody's measuring the effects long term on people. And we don't know. Sometimes the closest it comes, it be a lab animals, they will expose them to certain levels of vibrations or radiation. Of course, when it comes to microwave, it's recommended that you don't expose yourself to it or because they cause injuries to your cells. Again, you won't see it directly. They can cause burns, but that it will take a lot to see that. But what you get is low levels of radiations. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question in any way.
Maybe I try. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Apache, my question, Kaka.
Okay.
Pacho Nyame Inshra. My question now, now kasa about aflatoxins. Na yenye Ghanaians idea unse yeduane ayedi aye kenke dokunya. And then I would try fermentation, how it forms this, fungi ɛna yɛsan de rɔba yi a na wɔka ho everyday yɛdi aba a wɔka ho asɛm ɛno ana yɛsan de akyekyere ɛna yɛsan de kenke no ato hɔ a for a long time nti sometimes no wobɛkɔ no wohu sɛ fungi no wɔ ho nso still no yɛatɔ but deɛ yɛ a yɛtaa ka no sɛ okay ɛnyɛ but me maame ne me papa adi saa aduane no for years nothing happened to them nti yɛ excuse a yɛma no no afotuo bɛn ɛna ɛwɔ hɔ ɛma yɛn a yɛnim sɛ yɛ maame ne yɛ papa no madi saa nnuane no a hwee anyɛ wɔ mo nti risk bi ɛni hɔ ɛma yɛn nso so afotuo bɛn na ɛwɔ hɔ ma yɛn.
Yeah, I mean, the study, you know, like I said, because I'm more confirmatory, liver cancer was so common, you know, and most of the people were between 30 and 50. And, you know, you see that if you as a young person where we were near the and those times not because of Antoine, you know, but liver cancer is very common in Ghana. And these exposures, you know, I can't say no. So that can be because but nipa na okasa ni na I mean, can take kinky na first Accra na share say into be out the friends say Asante Mampong the chances say Dokuna no dinner is less likely. But and when by these exposures, just COVID by nipa ni bi we so that's how some of these things. Some people may be exposed to aflatoxin. They will be effect will not be so damaging. Their bodies may be able to handle it. Other people when they get exposed, they come down with a disease. And you know, say obi DNA, you are not that person. And throughout the ages, you know, always there are people who survive accidents, toxins, pandemics, and others succumb to it. But the general caution should be there. Say, you should make the effort to stay away from them rather than to say, yeah.
But sure, me will contribution kakra I will sa question home. I say Dr. Okasanoka say you chrome no nipa ni bebre ukra na omo kwaye biopsy. Into obi wo ho no ma edeka so me ma me papa me no ana omo di battery anya omo. But say bia nipa ni free mo no yan kwaye biopsy ho say bibi say na ipom ti sa na ma na dia na eku omo pan but because yenye biopsy no I'm sorry autopsy no you who say no na ipom omo kacho mo akakra me de kan no.
Yeah, that's it.
That's my question. My question is, first of all, I'm sure I'll be brave for such an educative program. Now, my question, I think, say, Okasano, you talked about acculturation, say, immigrants, bahana after a while, your immune system, everything is your risks a low, but it's not check a crack. Now, your risks of getting these diseases not higher. So my question is it because it said free chromo Ghana we still trying to live in the Ghana world, and in the sense that we still try and say in Ghana no and I said try say you be waha. And I said is it because it's say you bedru chrome hana American food in and no it affects your risk after a while from that acculturation and no me perceive me home that's it.
Okay, thank you. I think multiple factors. One is diet is just one part. Of course, what the study shows that people gain weight, the the calorie content of food is very high. And so people tend to gain weight. And of course, inactivity. You drive to every, baby, it's all driving, and we spoke about all these other things. One have found a way out. They make time to engage in certain health habits. You don't incorporate those things to get you going, but you are focused on a Juma Obabe and Okrata. So yeah. And there's a huge amount of stress also on this migrant population, Okay. So it's multiple factors. You have to sort of sit back and appreciate what the effect of these things that are threatening your health. And over time, there's sort of self-neglect. And we don't pay attention, assume that check up, and so we're just riding on. And like I said, within the first 10 years, you are almost like the person living in Ghana as far as your exposures, your risks are concerned. And sometimes we may not have taken the time to address those risks that we came with. It takes time for you to become like the regular American or the regular person here. I know if that answers part of your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Doctor, I mean, Miss Mabo, a question back.
Okay.
Yeah. Talking about pollution. Now we care about Ghana. Say, hey, beer. Oko ono who so much share rubber near the air pollution. And in advanced countries, I pray to say industrial pollution. To say, yeah, you has say New York. Beer, yeah, no industries now had na beer, you who beer that pollution says smoke, and I say, and mostly beer, you who be crowns as well. And nature say in near what honey idea no ebua. So beer ye walk in advance a baby countries, baby not say industries no when also the same time near war that in Indiana. So yes say you bet na ho ana say so we are not hono kwa MYN it's a say you free my question.
Okay. Yeah, I think that we're a decision that you have to make, especially when you know, say, okay, this is the quality of the air. And the authorities, monitor some of these things. Industries and factories, they set, standards for them. Say, yeah, you can have so much emissions or things like that. And there's something we call acid rain. So sometimes the emissions can form acid rain and then falls back. But I think the EPA is sort of hard on these factories and things like that, on trying to make sure that they adhere to standards. But sometimes these are they can only be around for so long, and the monitoring may not be 100% and things like that. But overall, if you are going to compare yourself to be exposed, that person is better off than who we are exposed. And if you have the opportunity or the chance Of course, the recommendation will be to go to the beer. You don't have this sort of exposure. Like I said, I listened to, there's one Loma Linda professor we our church of books about diet and now we talk about the Adventist health advantage, the so-called blue zone. And Lana or Kase Norty Loma Linda, no, close to that area, no. Over time, no, he had to move to a more sort of a greener or quieter place, where he was growing his own food and doing gardening, and the place is less congested. There aren't, and so then it occurred to me when people talk about these blue zone, other places people are living longer, and we think say it's all diet, but these people are making choices about where they want to live, where bonse baby or motitino, so pollutions here is at the barest minimum, is the best probably you could find anywhere, And so yes, this person, or no, even the Loma Linda area now, you think say it's good, no? He thinks there's quite about a bit of pollution there, so they move and live the countryside, where they are not so exposed, and when we talk about those health advantage now, the variables that I mentioned, has to be taken into account. It's not just diet. So you'll be able to reduce your exposure to fumes in this annual manner. Why not? The fumes have been associated with a lot of childhood asthma in this annual manner. That's what I would say about that one.
Okay. Abusuafo, I say yemre no ayebre. Yebeda Dr. Asiye pa ewo adisia ene nkyerɛkyerɛ a ɔde amaye. Na megidi se nka mmerɛ wɔ mu a nka questions no bɛba more, but the time no aso almost 9:30 nti na ɛsɛ yɛkɔ. Enti sɛ bi a yɛmu bi ɛwɔ nsɛmisa bi a ɔkyena no nti the doctor beto yɛn sa afro ɔkyena wia no yɛ program nanka wato afa hɔ kakra na asɛmisa bi wɔ hɔ a ya waboa yɛ. Ɛno nti yɛbɛgyina me ministry for no nyinaa nan mu, asɔre mpanyimfo anan mu, na yɛada wase sɛ yɛto nsa frɛ wo na ɔbɛboa yɛn. Enti na yɛgyiri sɛ yɛn hyehyɛ no program no nkɔ na wie yɛhɔ a yɛadom a ɔkyena ɛne yɛde bɛbɔ na wie. Enti no yɛgu so a yɛbɛhwɛ w'anim ɔkyena bi sɛ bi a asɛmisa bi ɛbɛba. Ɛno nti abusuafo yɛda mo nyinaa mo ase sɛ mo nso so mo baeɛ. Mahunu sɛ Mrs. Adonten Boaten nso so wɔ so nti yɛkyia wo. Yɛda ase sɛ wɔn nso so wobaa so. Enti ɛda bɛn ɛgyiri sɛ bi a nkaebɔ bi wɔ hɔ a sɛ wobɛtumi de ama yɛn sɛ bi ne hɔ nso so a sɛ bi wɔ hɔ a nkaebɔ no wie a na wɔahyira adesua nyinaa so ama yɛn, bi ne hɔ nso so a ɛneɛ na wabɔ mpaeɛ ama yɛn de adesua no nyinaa aba na wie. That's
right. I think that Kaibai order said from dinner committee, and that's a woman family life for no. Yes, say Chinanya me boa ba na ode o sikana ba sabaya they can finalize. I think that this is last Sabbath dinner non term. To almost say a gentle reminder. So enyana yemfa sika no embra. Na them boss I am rantem na amode do enye kama. Chance baby dedication. And to NCC a home na fe and for Bible on time couple nechi and as a family nechi embra or be dedicated. Oba Asinya Media Nunyam. I think these are the major ones. I think that perhaps there can be another watching that. Of course, there's board meeting tomorrow. And then so any provision. We the young chakra said the answer no. We say one paving the agenda and also all right. Dr. Percy Adonten Boateng, Unyami Sharpa for bringing us to this point. Well, may to try for unique to rethink the way we live in here. Mr. Oka King can be the Mashio more neighbor. And seems to be bringing one go busa questions, but any pan where running the I think these are things that every day no everywhere and we couldn't have had a better message than this at this time. On the men's day, say be good people, like be good stewards of our bodies. Now, so the media my bɛhwɛ so yie ne daakye bi bu ho akonta onyame nhyira wo ɛne Dr. Ganila ɛyɛ Mrs. ɔno nso bɛtaa w'akyi onyame nhyira wo ɛne mehu sɛ maame odum ɛdi sɛ odum so baa so so ɔkɔ a adodum family ɔmo nso so yɛda wɔn ase paa sɛ ɔmo nso bi gyaa wo na afei ɔmo ma ɛyɛ kama ahɔhɔ ɛwɔ line so a yɛhu mu amomudi nyinaa no yɛma mo akɔ aba we wish you happy Sabbath and hopefully you can join us through Zoom on Sabbath during the divine service and also the afternoon program. No, you'll be focusing also on the difference between men and women. Now, if the questions are asked from and then also they are trying to say, Dr. Ebeboye or Doctor, once again, Yamisha, and when you're beginning, when you're last, it's only just the beginning. We'll be writing you. Perhaps also next time to talk to us about kidney. Said the what we saying Ghana na kidney seminar was what was going on, and there be no move with these kidney diseases, liver diseases. No, be here some of my what this year. Na that's a problem. No,
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm ready. Eba bompire. Na fe ya tutume de nyina senya mensa. Eda ba wi ya.